The opportunity. My aunt, my great aunt, has been a resident of Cedar Haven for 4 years now. She's been a resident of Lebanon County her entire life. She will be 90 in April. She's one of the residents that I would say, even though she has no filter, she is very very well oriented. Still has her mind. Still makes her own decisions. So. Medications, she's used to the medications that she gets on a regular basis, every day, morning, noon, night. She knows what they are. We've had incidents where, similar to Teresa, medications weren't being given. The wrong medications were being given. Not enough medication was being given. My fear here is Viv is able to make decisions for herself. She's of sound mind. What's happening with her neighbor who can't, who cannot speak for herself, who cannot make those decisions? What's happening to them? Are they getting the wrong meds? It blows my mind. I'm actually very grateful that her mind is still there so that she can speak up not only for herself but others. She is the president of the Residents Council and takes that job very seriously. So I am here as her voice, but also for the other residents who can't speak for themselves. She has diabetes, CHF, a number of other contributing factors. One of the things the doctor prescribed is boots. They go on her lower legs, and it is to help with the edema in her legs and the fluid buildup. There were 5 days straight when she came back from the hospital in December that those boots were not put on her legs. And this is the result of those boots not being put on her legs. She couldn't even get her shoes on.
Only slippers.
It's okay. It's okay. She has very little independence, but she can motor herself around the nursing home. She can't do that when her feet are so swollen she can't get shoes on. Similar to Sue and Teresa, there's continued issues with personal care surrounding bathroom use. When she came back from the hospital, she was required to stay in the bed. She was on bed rest for a couple of days. So she had to use the bedpan. She called and called for the bedpan, sat for over an hour waiting for someone to come so she could go to the bathroom. She ultimately couldn't wait any longer, and she ended up soiling herself. She was utterly embarrassed, worried about the smell and how others would see her. And I felt so horrible that there was nothing I could do about it. I can complain and complain and complain. No one's doing anything about it. Last week, she wears a brief to bed. And last week, during third shift, around midnight, she had called and said she needed to be changed. She had urinated in her brief and needed to be changed. 6 a.m. the following morning, she was still waiting there to be changed. So 6 hours she sat and waited. The personal care, again, just adding to what they've already said, for 4 weeks she went without a shower, without a bath, without having her hair washed. Her hair was itching. I don't know about you, but I get a shower every day, at least once a day. I don't know how anyone can allow that to happen to someone, not give them that care. What if it was your uncle, your aunt, your mom, your dad, your brother or sister? What would you do? I mean, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I can't stand around and watch it anymore. That's why we're here. Something has got to change.
And is he private pay? No.
She's not private pay. And we would have nowhere to take her either. I'd ultimately have to bring her home.
No, but the reason I ask is, have you considered reporting these things to the state? This is the first time I've heard all of this so succinctly and passionately, and I just wondered if it has been reported, if these are incidents that you have a journal. I mean, the documentation is fantastic. And Has it been reported?
I have called the state. I have been on with the state. I complained about the toilet. I complained about on the 3F floor, there were 11 people who could not feed themselves. Now, by law, they tell you that you only need 1 CNA for 20 residents. That's okay. But there are exceptions. And you have 11 people or whatever that need to be fed. You gotta have more. I complained about the hair. Well, I'm not really worried about the hair right now. We'll see what we can do. He comes in at 8 o'clock in the morning after they're fed. There was so many up there. They had to been alerted to it because that's not the first time this has happened. The state had to be alerted that, or they were telling, they called in there to tell them that they are coming. When they came, the speech therapist was there. They had other CNAs there helping to feed. That's not the way it is. It just isn't. But I took the liberty of calling.
And have you submitted anything in writing?
No, I talked right to the man who was supposed to send me a letter of what he found. He never did. But he was in there.
So they did an
The
inspection?
Department of Health, is it?
Oh yeah, I did it for the food too, because my brother was almost ate raw chicken. If it wouldn't have been for her aunt, imagine how sick he would have gotten. So it is bad.
And I know how much all of you care about these folks, and it must be so difficult for you to stand by and see all this happening. And so, you know, again, as Joellen said, this is the first time we're hearing these stories, and I'm glad that you're reporting them to the right people. Yeah.
It's just been bad.
I would say that I think your documentation is wonderful, and it should be put in writing to the state so that they have something in hand to go in with. Talking is wonderful in person, I mean on the phone, but you need a paper trail, in my humble opinion, because that way they can enforce a little easier because they have something to fall back on what they're looking for.
The state
or if
is
it
not,
is repeated.
The state is not very happy to work fast. There have been numerous calls to the state, and they're supposed to check that out right away. They take their time.
Okay.
And I don't even think writing to them, that's pushed aside. We're not the only ones that have complained. We're not the only ones that walk out of there that are ready to throw up. And that's true. You see pee on the wall that should have been cleaned for 3 days, it gets... When my brother got changed at nighttime, because he peed, they took the diaper inside his lounge pants with the pad, put it on his bed, and he slept like that the rest of the night. I try and smile, you know Tommy. I try and smile with him. He's antsy. Can't do anything. They don't take him out. They weren't out to shop for Christmas. It's a prison.
Well, these presentations, I presume you knew when you came in, will be published. The county has a long tape, and individually, I hope that my camera has not failed, and we'll post those as well. We have Gordon Wise here from WLBR, so I think that you can also utilize those links to be able to communicate to the state what's going on, and I would gladly forward them as well on your behalf, because I think it's important they know what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's important that you make the kind of concentrated effort that you're making here today to inform the folks at the state that these things are happening, because they are the agency that would enforce that. We obviously we're happy to be here for you and listen, but we do not have any enforcement powers, this board, over Cedar Haven or any other nursing home in the county. So your main emphasis, I think, needs to be to the Department of Health to get to have them enforce things that are not being done.